How to ask for a teacher recommendation. That is the topic of today's video. My name is Craig Meister. I'm a college admissions coach. You can learn more about me and how you can work with me one-on-one throughout the entire college admissions process on my website, which is collegemeister.com. And if you're interested in learning about whether you are or your student is on track for selective college admission, I encourage you to complete my free 3-minute online assessment. It's at areyouontracktogetin.com. Again, areyouontracktogetin.com. Your results will be emailed to you right away, and they will help you clarify if you are on track or if there is still more work to do in your quest to earn admission to a selective college or university in the United States of America. So it's Teacher Appreciation Week in the United States of America this week of May 6th through May 10th, and you should always thank a teacher for all of his or her hard work. And you certainly are going to want to thank at least 2 teachers by the October or November or later of your senior year for writing letters of recommendation on your behalf, because many colleges and universities in the United States require 2 academic teacher letters of recommendation for your application to be considered complete. And so in previous videos, we talked about when to ask for 2 teacher recommendations. We've also talked about who to ask for 2 academic teacher letters of recommendation. Today, we're going to talk about how to ask for letters of recommendation. I'm a big believer in courtesy and proper etiquette. I'm sort of old-fashioned that way. I know that in this day and age, people are playing fast and loose with etiquette and times are changing, but I'm a big believer in finding time where you can be alone with that teacher, maybe right before class, right after class, go up to him face to face or her up to her face to face and stare him or her in the eye. I mean, not viciously or intently to stare, but look at him or her in the eye. It's very, very easy these days not to make eye contact. So I really do want to emphasize the eye contact part and say, "Hi, Miss Smith. My name is Craig." Hopefully they know who you are. Maybe if it's a big public school, they don't know who you are. But hi, Miss Smith. As you know, I really have enjoyed your class this year. And I'm looking ahead to college. And I was wondering if you would be willing and able to write one of my teacher recommendations in support of my college applications. And just keep your eyes on him or her, or in this case, Miss Smith, the whole time. Because you also want to pick up on if there's any sort of flinching or fear or factor in the eyes or body language of the teacher. Because in the event the teacher seems on his or her back foot and really doesn't sort of want to do it, you want to be able to gauge that visually as much as possible. So that even if he or she says, yes, I'll do it, maybe you end up not submitting that letter of recommendation because you go to the counselor and say, you know what, I'll find a third person. I'll just replace this teacher because if there's any visual reason why that teacher may be repulsed by you, you should pick up on that, and you should try to avoid having any teacher who could be potentially repelled by you write any letter of recommendation on your behalf, because that could just end in tears and misery. But if the teacher, once you ask that question, I'm wondering, are you willing? If he or she and their eyes light up and say, oh, I'd love to, Johnny, or I'd love to, Craig, in this case, then say, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And that could be it at that conversation, depending on if the rest of the class is coming in and it's right before class. It's 7:59 in the morning and your 8 a.m. class is about to start with him or her. You can end it there and say, thank you so much. I'll get back to you with more information later. You can basically wrap it up there. Now, I want to emphasize, you always want to follow your school's rules. Some schools are stricter than others, and some have very strict rules in terms of how to formally request a teacher recommendation. So there is a possibility that your school says that no recommendation is officially going to be written on your behalf until you've requested that teacher recommendation on SCORE, or on Maya Learning, or on Naviance, or on Unifrog, or on Cialfo. If you know, you know. So these are sort of online CRMs that your schools may use to educate you and your family about college, but they're also used as the transmission tool at many high schools around the world these days for sending virtual documents, basically PDF documents, from a high school securely to the Common App, the Coalition App, or colleges directly. And so many high schools will not consider a teacher truly writing your letter of recommendation until you have put that information into one of those what I call CRMs, basically customer relationship management systems. But really they go by different names, but sort of like 24/7 college counseling offices, or online extensions of your college counseling office, whatever you want to call them. So I don't just end verbally, is my point. You can, of course, and you should politely ask face to face, but then you most likely should and must at some point follow up on that Naviance system or that Cialfo system or Maya Learning system or what have you, depending on your school and where it uses it. Now, there are a lot of people who watched me in India or in Ireland or in China or in South Africa, and they've never heard of any of those systems. And it's very possible that maybe that school submits letters of recommendation from teachers via something known as Slate, which is not usually as a student focused slash something that students really see. And that's okay. I mean, it doesn't really matter how your school sends it, or maybe they actually just put it in the mail still. Some schools still do that. But what you have to concern yourself with is clarifying with your counseling or guidance office what steps you need to take after asking formally face-to-face of the teacher. Again, this whole video is talking about the how to ask. What steps you need to do to confirm that the teacher really is on the hook for you, and that teacher knows, in case they have a bad memory, or they're older, or they're flighty. Maybe they forget. You ask them in May of your 11th grade year, then all of a sudden it's October 27th, and he or she maybe forgot, and you have an application due in 3 days. You want to have some sort of fail-safe where he or she is on the hook. And usually those online request systems are a way that high schools have implemented to keep the teacher focused. They'll get alerts or whatever that they need to complete something, and they have to log into that system every so often. Whereas just a verbal face-to-face request can sometimes be lost in the ether of, a busy day. You ask at 7:59 in the morning, and then by 11 o'clock, that teacher has already had 3 classes, and a teacher, it sometimes has to deal with a lot of problematic students in the classroom, and they're so overwhelmed they just want to take a break or quit or whatever. And so, it's very easy for the teacher to forget. So what I will also say is that it would be lovely if after you ask that morning or afternoon, you can at least go home, even if you don't know yet the rules as it relates to your CRM, and if you have to put that information in formally and requesting it formally, you can still go home and email the teacher and say, "Dear Ms. Smith, thank you again for offering to write my letter of recommendation for my college applications later this year or whatever. And I will be following up again with more information soon. Thank you again. Let me know if you have any questions in the meantime." That's nice enough. So at least you've given them one electronic communication so that it's harder to forget that you really asked. So that combines sort of the courtesy factor of asking in person and doing it sort of the old-fashioned way, but also the harnessing technology in a way so that it's harder for the teacher to forget. So that even if you're not yet able to input that information into Naviance yet, or your school doesn't use a system like that, you're still able to electronically keep that teacher sort of remembering that you have asked. Now, if you are one of my students, a college meister, learned student like you are, it's very likely that you might already have an extracurricular resume completed or in very good shape the day you ask your teacher to write your letter of recommendation. And if he or she says yes, in addition to thanking him or her in that email later in the day, what I also would strongly recommend is you can follow up and say, "I'm attaching to this email my current resume draft." You can be a PDF attachment to the email so that you can get a sense of what else I've been doing, Miss Smith, outside of your math class or your English class. That is really valuable because it's showing that you are going the extra mile to share more context about what you do outside of the classroom. And sometimes that information can be infused into the later paragraphs of this teacher's letter, where she's writing, not only is Johnny impressive in the classroom, but his impressive behavior and academic acumen in the classroom is particularly noteworthy, considering how many hours a week he spends playing lacrosse each year, or donating his time to the local shelter, or in the soup kitchen, or whatever else it is Johnny's doing, the church. And the teacher is only going to know this potentially because you shared your resume with that teacher. So it's important to share that extra context as you have that resume developed. By the way, if you want to put together an extraordinary, extracurricular resume, I actually have a course entitled How to Build an Extraordinary Extracurricular Resume. It is linked below this video. I strongly recommend that you go to that course and take it. It is an hour long or shorter. And it's so cheap. It's only a few dollars. And in that I think it's like 45-minute course, you will learn the format that is going to serve you best on developing that extraordinary extracurricular resume in support of your college applications. It's not only something you're going to upload, hopefully, to the common application supplements at the colleges that accept resumes. It's not only something you're going to copy and paste from into the activities page of your common application or other applications. It's also a document that you can use and share with your two teacher recommenders, so that your two teacher recommenders can get a sense or a taste of what it is you've been doing outside the classroom, so that as they draft their letter of recommendation for you, they will have some strong content to wrap up their letter. That they could infuse a sentence or two about, I can't believe that honestly Johnny is as strong in my class as he is, considering he takes care of his 6 siblings every night at home. Well, she only has learned that maybe because you have shared your resume, and it's on your resume that you're basically a secondary caregiver in your home when your mom or dad or both are out working late at night. So these are contextual details that could be valuable for your teacher to learn about you, so that your ultimate teacher recommendations are as strong as humanly possible. I should also note that your teachers often don't only have to write a letter recommendation. Many of them will also have to complete like a quick form where they sort of rank you in terms of your courtesy and your follow through and your academic potential and all these things. All of these little steps about giving them your resume, asking ahead of time, well ahead of time, being courteous, shaking hands, maintaining eye contact. These are all things that also build your sort of street cred as like a really nice young lady or nice young man. And so as they're completing those little forms or questions on the preamble, if you will, to their formal letter of recommendation, they're going to be more likely to have positive vibes about you because of the way in which you've conducted yourself throughout this process. You've given them a resume, you've asked ahead of time, you've been very polite, you followed up with them via email. That can't hurt you as you think about how they're going to rank you on that sort of schematic that the Common App and other applications ask teachers to sort of rank you. Not all teachers will do that, and not all schools are allowing their teachers to do that, but many schools do that. And that's a really great way to get brownie points, if you will, to sort of have a more muscular letter of recommendation on your behalf. So you might as well be as calm, cool, and professional and collected as possible throughout this process with your teacher, so that your ultimate letter of recommendation is as strong as possible. And again, you just want to be courteous because you're a nice person, I hope. And you're appreciative and you have gratitude. And again, this is why we're doing this during Teacher Appreciation Week, because these teachers do not get bonuses for writing letters of recommendation. So thank the teacher every step of the way for his or her time, because they're doing you a favor. This teacher, he or she, is doing you a favor in terms of supporting your goals post high school. So please keep that in mind. I'm going to do one more video in the series. The videos in the series so far have touched on when to ask, who to ask. Today was how to ask and sort of follow through on asking. And my last video is going to be what to provide the teacher beyond that first day where you follow up with that email. Again, I already started giving a hint of what you can provide. In the next video, I'll mention it again, which is a first strong draft of your resume. Don't give them a really rough draft, but hopefully like a well-produced draft that follows my How to Build an Extraordinary Extracurricular Resume format. But a solid resume that gives them a sense of what you've been doing outside the classroom. But in the next and final video in the series, we're going to be talking about what else you can provide the teacher in order to make sure that the teacher is going to be best positioned to write a strong letter of recommendation on your behalf in support of your college applications. Sometimes this is you being responsive. They actually have other things they're going to ask of you. And we'll talk more about that also in our final video in this series. I hope you're enjoying yourself. I know this is not a topic that's really dissected in great depth, but I live and breathe this stuff because I'm a college admissions coach. I've been helping students navigate successfully the college admissions process for as long as you've been alive. If you're a current high school senior, 18 years. And if you're a parent of a high school senior, then you know that's a long period of time you've had this child. So I've been doing this a long time, right? So it's important, maybe a high school junior. So it's important that you trust me. Now, again, with that said, This is not medical or financial advice, so there's always exceptions to the rule. You always have to follow up with your own school and your teachers to follow their policies and procedures. So I cannot be held liable for anything that does go right or wrong in your college admissions process. But this advice has served my students over the years very, very well. And so I hope you take this advice seriously as you consider approaching the teacher recommendation requesting process as you apply to colleges and universities in the United States of America. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and also consider subscribing to my channel if you want to work with me throughout or even for just part of the college admissions process. I encourage you to go to my website, which is collegemeister.com. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and most importantly, stay stress-free throughout the entire college admissions process.